have your seatbelt on? Why don't you have your seatbelt on? For what? Keep your window down. Get out of the car. Give me your ass, bro. Get out of the car. Give me your ass. I'm gonna break that freaking window. Get out of the car. Get out of the car right now. Tell you to do something, you do it. You understand? You understand? Not what you want, but what we tell you. You're a little confused.
I'm getting out, bro.
Too late. Too late.
All right, bro. Take me to jail, bro. Do what you gotta do, bro.
We are. We will.
Good, bro.
It is good.
Hey.
Don't worry about it. I hung up the phone. You stop crying.
Bro.
Welcome back to Internal Affairs, a police podcast. Today, breakdown. Tyreek Hill's traffic stop that apparently went wrong. And we're going to be talking about that for a bit, for many, many reasons. Just know right off the bat, I'm here to tell you that there's accountability on both parties. And there is two videos that are going to be on the actual episode. So the first video is actually the one that we're going to be breaking down. The total number is about 5 minutes and 59 seconds. So basically, it's a 6-minute video. And if you want to watch the full version of it, it's about 27 minutes and 4 seconds. So here's what we're going to do. After the 2 minute and 36 second mark, it's pretty much details that and facts that we're not going to be discussing because everything takes place from the beginning all the way to that 2 minute and 36 mark. So, and I have a guest from the state of Florida. And so before we get going, please take a look.
Why don't you have your seatbelt on? Why don't you have your seatbelt on? For what? Why do you have it on? Keep it down. Hey, keep your window down. Keep your window down. I'm gonna get you out of the car. As a matter of fact, get out of the car. Give me your ass, bro. Get out of the car. Give me your ass. I'm gonna break that freaking window. Get out of the car. Get out of the car right now. Tell you to do something, you do it. You understand?
I'm getting out.
You understand? Not what you want, but what we tell you. You're a little confused.
I'm getting out, bro.
Too late. Too late.
All right, bro. Take me to jail, bro. Do what you gotta do, bro.
We are. We will.
Good, bro.
It is good.
Hey.
Don't worry about it. I hung up the phone. You stop crying.
Bro. Y'all.
Don't move.
Good. Bro, you beating on my window like you crazy.
You set him up?
Why y'all beating on my window like y'all crazy for? Damn, bro, dude beating on my window like he crazy. I ain't do nothing, twin. Damn. Call Drew. Hey, call Drew. Call Drew, bro. Call Drew. Hey, call Drew, bro. Hey, what? Hey, call Drew, bro. Just call Drew. Hey. I'm not doing nothing. What am I doing that's wrong?
Hey, listen.
Okay, Code 6. Pat, I want to say Mahomes for whatever. Am I the only one that kind of like when they say your last name, people say Mahomes because it's Mahoney. It's Mr. Mahoney. How are you, bro?
Good. How are you, man? Thanks for having me.
Is it just me when people think that, or have you had that before?
As of late, it's been plenty of people.
Got it. So Officer Mahomes is what they call you, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Too bad you don't earn a living like the Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I'll take the paycheck.
Me and you both. Hey, listen, brother. Thanks for showing up. You and I have become pretty close and become really good friends as it relates to a whole different case and a whole different matter that I'm hoping in the future you and I can definitely discuss.
That'll be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. So I appreciate you showing up to break down with me the Tyreek Hill incident. And first, what I like to do is we watched it. Everybody's watched it. It's gone completely viral. It's something that is catching the attention of everybody in the lens of the community and certainly in the lens of all law enforcement officers across the nation. That's how popular Cheetah, right, Tyreek Hill is. And so I'd be the first one to tell you that there is accountability on both parties. Wouldn't you agree to that?
Absolutely.
Right. And then the first thing I like to talk about is obviously the approach probably wasn't the textbook approach, if you will. Let's go with that then in terms of doing traffic stops. I know in your career as being a police officer, you and I have done plenty of traffic stops. So kind of walk me through what you think about the approach, about what happened afterwards, and let's chop it up from there, man. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing I like to tell people is, especially when conducting traffic stops, the public does not have an expectation of being professional when they're dealing with the police. The police, however, do have an expectation of being professional when dealing with the public. I would venture to say almost every single agency has some kind of general order or rule on how you'll conduct yourself when, you're dealing with the public at large. And, in just watching the video of the traffic stop, the initial approach was all wrong. And a lot of times as a police officer, if your initial approach comes off confrontational, you're setting the standard for the entire interaction.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Before I forget, would you agree with me that if Tyreek Hill would have kept his window down, or if the officer went back to his motor and wrote up the actual citation and came back to give him a citation for speeding and for the no seatbelt, we wouldn't be having a viral video. Would that be true and accurate?
No, yeah, absolutely. No, it would have been nothing, right?
Right.
Maybe a little blip on the radar.
I totally get that. But the approach, totally, and tapping on the window, probably not the best thing to do, but you can tell just the tension was there from the get-go. What do you think?
Yeah, so if you actually watch the entire traffic stop, that officer in the initial moments, you don't have any audio, which is common with body-worn camera. Yeah. Usually the first 30 seconds are muted. He pulls alongside Tyreek Hill, and you can see his arm gestures are pretty aggressive, which leads me to believe maybe there was an aggressive exchange of, hey, pull over, which may have set the standard, right? It may have set things in motion and provoked Tyreek Hill's actions. But again, we don't have that audio. I'm just going based on his body language.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then you couple that in with maybe knocking on the window a little aggressively and a guy who's already upset. It's not a good recipe.
Right. And so looking at from, and as we move on, breaking this down, let's put on our hats and kind of criticize and I suppose pass some judgment on the officers themselves. So here we are. He taps on the window, and apparently Tyreek Hill is not having it, but he's got an attitude from the get-go, and we'll discuss his accountability as well. But he does give him his license, and he does pretty much tell him, hey, you know what? Do what you got to do and go write the citation, right?
Correct.
And then after that, as we follow along in the video, it depicts that once he rolls up the window, the officer wasn't having it, and within a matter of not even a second, he decides that, you know what? Roll down the window or you're getting out of the car. And then I think about a second later, he goes,
ask for anything else. Tyreek Hill did say, hey man, just write the citation. I'm already late, etc. He rolls the window up and the officer's like, hey man, you need to roll that window down, which is something that I've seen time and time again on traffic stops. And this is where some case law comes into play,
right? That
may or may not be accurately enforced.
Okay, so talk
in
about
terms of when
law.
people roll up windows.
Yeah, what comes to mind when it comes to case law?
There's famous case law on this, Pennsylvania v. Mimms, right? And the Supreme Court ruled that an officer was justified in having a subject exit the vehicle and conducting a pat down of their person when you could articulate a reasonable safety threat or safety concern.
Absolutely. I have the case law here, Harry Mimms, for driving with expired plates. But you and I were talking about this, and, circumstances are not the same, because in this particular Mimms case, the officer noticed that Mimms was acting suspiciously and asked him to step out of the vehicle. Then the officer conducted a pat-down search and discovered that he had a loaded firearms. Now, let's go with the Mimms case, because we're talking suspiciously. And again, I don't know what factors the officer led to believe that his behavior was suspicious for them to decide to actually take and get Tyreek Hill out of the car. Because what it comes down to more than anything in this particular viral video, this whole incident, is the fact that they dragged them out of the car.
Right. So, I've spoken with tons of officers about this. I continue to speak to officers about this, and there's a common misconception. Hey, I can get anybody out of a car, because of Pennsylvania Mimms. And you're kind of like, no, there's a second half to that. When you can articulate a reasonable safety concern. And unfortunately, in my opinion, this is my opinion, just rolling up a window and sitting there is not a safety concern. If you watch the body cam, you can actually see through the window. So the tints couldn't have been that dark. Had they been a little darker, maybe I would have given them, you give the officer a little more latitude in that. Like, I can't see in that car at all. But in this case, you can see Tyreek Hill puts his seatbelt on and he's just kind of sitting there. And it seemed to me the officer was just a little more upset that he wasn't complying with his commands versus actually, was Tyreek Hill actually doing anything that would make him be concerned for his safety? Most likely, from what I saw, no.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, partner comes over and just completely interferes and decides to intervene and take him out of the car.
Oh, absolutely. There's an interesting part in that video where, Tyreek Hill, when you're dealing in the state of Florida, officer, I'm paraphrasing, but, Tyreek Hill does say, okay, I'm getting out. And it just appeared that the officers were upset that he wasn't getting out as fast as they wanted him to, which prompts the second officer to just open the door. And now you're using force to get him out of the car and detain him.
Right. And then this is when it comes to, and you and I were discussing this, and again, with my colleagues as well, I'm calling around saying, hey, is this a reportable use of force or a non-reportable use of force? And so, go ahead.
At my old agency, that absolutely would have been a reportable use of force. 100%.
Yeah, it looks like a takedown. And here's the deal. When it comes to applying force, right, for all you listening out there, civilians and police officers, now you step into the realm of use of force policy, right? Here in California, I don't want to get into this whole lecture about 835 APC, the California Penal Code of the use of force policy, but just like they taught me back in the days, look, are you effecting an arrest? Are you preventing an escape? Or are you overcoming resistance? Sounds to me, if I was the officer, I'm effecting an arrest, which would be one of the reasons to use force, right? What do you think?
Right. So, in the state of Florida, you can't use force to enforce a traffic statute, right? So at that point, is that officer deciding, well, now I'm placing you under arrest for obstruction or resisting, and I'm going to use force to get you out of the car and detain you.
Yeah.
Which would be, in state of Florida, it's a misdemeanor of the first degree when you commit obstruction.
Right.
And that would be the legal authority to use force. But if you were to look at the use of force matrix, I don't even think Tyreek Hill's actions at that point even met the level of passive resistance because verbally he was complying. It just appeared that it wasn't as fast as these guys wished it would have.
No, absolutely. And you know what? Putting on the my defense hat in terms of arguing on behalf or articulating on behalf of the officer, very disrespectful, very rude. And you know what? And I don't know what he has in his car. I don't know if he's armed. I don't know if he has a weapon. So you know what? This is the reasons why I actually pretty much dragged him out of the car and used force. And at that point, I felt in the need to believe that, you know what, he was obstructing. And that, like you said, is a first-degree misdemeanor in the state of Florida. So that's an argument definitely worth having. And again, I'm not one here to make decisions. We're breaking all this down so that we can educate, all the watchers and the listeners that there is that angle of the officer, I suppose, justifying their actions. What do you think?
Well, so in the great state of Florida, which is now a constitutional carry state, we had a saying, there's a gun in every car. Maybe states like New York, California, where the gun laws are a little more stringent, things are a little different. But he can legally have a firearm in his car. Mm-hmm. So the what if he has a gun, it doesn't really fly. Yeah. Because he can legally have a gun in his car. Now, can the officer articulate, well, he was reaching into the center console. He was reaching under the seat. From what I saw, I didn't see that happening. He wasn't reaching around. It didn't look like he was making any furtive movements. Again, to me, it looked like a battle of egos at that point. No, totally. And again,
and that's the analysis, right? Is you get him out of the car, you grab him, and you take him down to the ground. That is considered a takedown. That is applying
100%.
force. Yeah, and you and I can agree, and I'm sure a lot of our colleagues will agree. It's a reportable use of force, and in order for use force, you got to have more than just an infraction.
Correct, 100%.
Now, as we move forward, I know he's handcuffed, and at some point he's standing, and the video depicts that they
on the sidewalk, right, with another person. I believe it might have been a female. I can't remember exactly who he's standing with. And somebody gives him an order to sit down on the curb. And he begins to talk about articulate. Is he standing there being compliant, handcuffed? Why did he need to be sitting on the ground for any other reason than I just want him to?
Yeah, totally.
Like, was he looking around? Was he pulling his pants up? Did he appear to sit down and he didn't? You're going to need a better reason.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I don't mean to chuckle, to just, sense of humor has always been my way of coping with,
sure,
with, I was always told, hey, on this job, man, just have a sense of humor and laugh things off because you'll just be, you'll create more sanity in your life, if you will.
Absolutely.
What I will say right off the bat, and I just want to make sure, as the IA guy here, this is an internal affairs police podcast, and right off the bat, we got Cubo. This is for all you everybody who's watching and listening, this is your pretty much textbook example of an unbecoming conduct or conduct unbecoming an officer. That's going to be an allegation that's going to be framed no matter what. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Just from the demeanor to the actions, it would appear that, nothing about that was conducted in a professional manner.
Correct. And then the other allegation that's going to be framed is something along the lines that you use unauthorized force. And that's something they're going to have to deal with. But I just want to make sure, because this happened a couple of days ago. There's been reports and there's, tweets, and there was a follow-up press conference. I think I just saw something earlier where, let me back up. The actual Drew, get Drew. Well, yeah, Drew Rosenhaus went on to state that these officers should be terminated. So let's put on our adjudication hat and, what do you think?
Well, I don't know what Miami-Dade's policies are with regards to use of force. I don't know what the punishments would be for, I don't know what level of violations those would be. And I don't know what, per their GOs, what the potential punishment could be for that. I would recommend, if it were me, I would say somebody's going to a retraining at the very least, right?
Right.
Is it should you be terminated for it? I don't know, and that's going to be, up to his command, their command.
Yeah, I'm with you on that too. You know what? This is not a termination case. I want to go on the record to say that. So whoever is out there, saying, oh my God, this is so egregious, so bad that the cops should be fired. You know what? Slow down, take it easy. Okay. It's a bad incident. Again, if it wasn't Tyreek Hill, chances are it probably wouldn't have gotten viral. 1, 2, there is people who are actually filming while they're going to the game. So my thinking is, let's just say it was somebody else. At some point, maybe they put it on TikTok, whoever, was filming, and it would have went so viral that they probably would have forced Miami-Dade to go ahead and say, hey, you know what, we're going to have to release video. So I want to slow down when it comes to adjudicating and, intending to give penalty. I wouldn't do something like that. You know what? And maybe, what do you think about this? And again, I don't know if those motor officers were working an overtime detail, but in my experience in the past, I think what I would do is I hit them in the pockets and say, hey man, you know what? You can't work overtime for like the next couple of months. And I don't know, let's go for that emotional intelligence. Maybe you need some EI training or whatever the case may be. What do you think?
Right. Well, and the other thing is obviously there needs to be due process. Those officers do need to give statements. We're looking at it through the lens of body cam.
Yeah.
Maybe there were some factors, extenuating factors before or after that maybe we're not privy to that caused that kind of, reaction out of the officers. But that's what the IA investigation's for, right? Like to determine what's going on. And then you put it all together and you look at the totality of it.
100%. Very well said. I look, there are other factors. There is interviews that are going to be conducted with all those actual motor officers are where it's seen, witnesses are where it's seen. Definitely, try to obtain all those videos, as much evidence as you can gather to 100% come up with a very right, fair, and a reasonable penalty, if you will, because we don't want officers, and this goes to the unbecoming conduct, we don't want our officers to be conducting traffic stops in such a manner that just reflects very negative. So we can agree there for sure. I don't think it's a termination case. There is some remedial training. I couldn't agree with you more. Before we actually wrap this up, let me ask you this. The 27-minute video that is out there that we're going to have attached to this episode, what else stood out to you, if any?
So there were some concerning things that I noticed in the follow-on investigation, that obviously wasn't given to the media. I did notice the officer, the primary officer, he did kind of misrepresent the way things went down to his supervisor, which for me is cause for concern. He stated that he had done some things that he did not do, which now the supervisor's looking at it through a different lens. Had he had the full story, maybe things would have been a lot different. And then I did notice some things that I don't know what Miami-Dade's policy was, but in the efforts of transparency, I noticed that they muted their body cam a lot when they're having offline conversations. And to me, I want to know what those conversations were, if I were the other side, like, what were you guys talking about? So there were some things in the follow-on, investigation that were like kind of stood out, a little bit of red flags. And the majority of it's redacted, right, too. So we're not privy to a lot of it.
Yeah, no, totally. And we're not going to let Tyreek Hill off the slide. I know we've been talking about the cops this whole time, and let's not let Mr. Hill off the hook here. Look, man, you roll down the windows and just comply orders, we wouldn't even be having this breakdown.
100%.
That's one.
100%.
Two, in your press conference, the original one, because I know he's had another one, I think I have it here on quote. I want to say he was, I have no idea, is what he said when he was asked why was he placed on handcuffs. Come on, bro. Let's, and then excuse me for being a little blunt, but you have the audacity to say, hey, I want to use the stage. I love cops. As a matter of fact, he's got family that are cops. And so you start putting all those things together, and how you behave, bro, and how you conduct yourself certainly is something that all cops are going to be concerned.
Right. Also, it's my opinion. It's everybody's opinion.
Yes.
You should be polite and professional when dealing with police. Even if you're dealing with an officer that is not professional, you remain professional. It only makes you look better. You add fuel to that fire, there's going to be a problem. But, in terms of, we're talking Tyreek Hill specifically, you are a major celebrity. You are a world-class athlete, and you are a role model to people, especially children.
Yes. And
now that optic that comes out, hey, I'm a professional football player, I can act and be disrespectful to police. That's a real bad optic for the Dolphins, and football or athletes in general.
Yeah, no, totally. And, look, if we're going to foster these relationships and use that platform like you said you want to, you know what, have some accountability on your part. And my understanding is, and again, this thing is still going viral. I know he had a second press conference where he said, you know what, I could have done things different. And that's a form of accountability. Totally, 100%, I get it. But it just seems to me, and maybe you can agree with me, that by him right from the get-go saying, hey, you know what, don't be knocking on my window. Don't be knocking on my window. Don't be knocking on my window. And just kind of like abruptly just give his license and said, do what you got to do, and then roll up his window, kind of indicates to me that you've probably had some bad negative contacts with the police in the past. And so when you do that, it goes to that argument about doing this podcast, is that one bad incident like that goes viral, it paints us all to be just real bad cops.
Well, and I know that, I'm sure you can vouch for this too. Back when I was doing traffic stops, when I was on the job, you go into that traffic stop automatically expecting that driver or those passengers to be confrontational. And when you come up and you inform them the nature of the stop, and they're just like, yeah, you got me. Yeah. It almost is like a sense of relief for you. It kind of brings you down a little bit. It brings them down. And you're like, all right, man, hey, let's get this sorted out. Let's make sure all your papers are, we're all good to go, and we'll get you out of here. It really takes a traffic stop, de-escalates down a level.
Oh no, 100%.
You know?
Yeah, 100%. Hey, man, you know what? These type of incidents, I hope that we get some lessons learned and some takeaways for all law enforcement, our community, right? Let's try to do things a little bit different, and I think that we have a positive outcome. Now, on that note, talk to me, man. So you've been a cop for several years now, 6-7 years, and you got a little situation going. But otherwise, in your situation going, talk to me about Apex concept training, man. What's that all about?
Yeah, so running Apex training concepts full time. It's been great, man. It's been an awesome journey. Been doing that about a year and a half now. Met some awesome people. This is how we connected.
Yes.
I've got to go on some other podcasts. The training spaces. It's different. It's challenging. It's fun, but it's been an adventure, man. I really like it. So yeah, we offer a whole bunch of stuff: firearms training, active threat training, medical training. We do have a whole bunch of different options. If anybody's interested, you can check me out.
Yeah, out in the state of Florida. We'll have all your information there. Educate me a little bit, because when I think of Apex, I think of something that involves like automobiles or like cutting a corner or something along those lines. So where did you come up with that, the concept of your title of your company?
So I'll be honest with you, man. If you look at our logo, it's a triangle. It's got a sword in it.
Okay.
Pointy, and I was kind of thinking of names, and I'm like, oh, it's the Apex here, and I'm like, Apex. Just kind of manifested. And everybody loved the logo. I got really good feedback on it. So I'm like, all right, man. I guess this is it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, man, I really appreciate all the information. We'll leave this episode in conclusion of you having the stage now, man. I'll leave it up to you to give any advice that you have for anybody who's coming on to be a law enforcement officer. Well, what kind of advice do you have, bro?
Oh, man, don't take it personal. It's just a job. It's just a job. The quickest way I've ever seen guys get jammed up outside of money and women is coming out of their skin on scene, right? Like, come out of your skin, somebody gets you to act a fool, and they're going to jam you up, man. You got to be professional, so don't take it personal.
Absolutely. Well, hey, man, thank you so much for your time. Pat, we'll be seeing you soon, because I know you and I are going to have a really good discussion about your situation. And I know it's unfortunate. It's just to show you that the reason of having this platforms, we get to develop this friendship and get to know each other, and I'm here to serve you for anything that involves discipline, and I'm sure we've already had those conversations. So thank you so much for everything, and please, like always, please be safe out there, and don't forget to go Code 6. Thank you.